Welcome back. You are listening to the Mariam Mukwanda Show on Salam Media. And first of all, I'd like to apologize. We've been having some technical difficulties with the electricity and we've had to sort that out. But the show is going on, inshallah. Today we're talking about being present in your relationship. Now, if you're wondering what is being present in my relationship, I mean, I am there. So what other presence do I need? So to talk more about that is our relationship coach, Dr. Mariam B. Khan, and we're going to be talking about relationships and being present in your relationship and marriage. If you have any comments, queries, questions, or suggestions, you can leave them in the comment section below, or you can send it to us on WhatsApp. The number is 061 766 Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sister Mariam.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good to see you again.
Yes, it's been a while, alhamdulillah. Shukran for joining me.
You're most welcome.
All right, Sister Mariam, we're talking about being present in a relationship, or rather a marriage, because this is the marriage segment. So, what is presence and why is it so important?
Yeah, everyone thinks they are present in the marriage because they're there. They're still there, So if they haven't left physically, that means they're present. I think that most people don't realize you need to be emotionally and mentally present as well. And I think you can only reach there if you are emotionally and mentally present within yourself. So you have to connect with yourself, understand yourself, your emotions, your needs, where you are in your life. And it makes it slightly easier to be emotionally present in any other relationship. The reason that it's important, I think we can incorporate the reasons as we go through the talk or as we go through the show. But also just, at the top of my head, um, it adds more value to the relationship, makes you feel valued, noticed, acknowledged, appreciated, wanted. What that does is improves you, your personal being, your health, physiologically, mentally, emotionally. It improves your value, your self-worth. And what that does is it helps you physiologically as well as reduces stress. It increases your brain power. It increases your overall life and marital satisfaction. I think it's a driver of change, a driver of positive change in your life and in your relationship. And one of the things that it also does is it improves intimacy. I know we like to not focus on physical intimacy, but it is something that's there in the marriage and it is an expectation. So it does improve physical intimacy. And how we understand that is, there's this idea of gender roles, right? What's expected of a man and what's expected of a woman. And we continuously tell a woman that just before her husband comes home from work, she must fix her mood, fix her appearance, make sure she's pleasant and happy because he's had a difficult day at work. And he's going to need you in a good mood and, well dressed, smelling good and feeling and looking good and ready and receptive for him and help him unwind. And I think we need to also acknowledge that women do have difficult days as well, even if they are at home, and housewives and homemakers. So if we just change that a little bit and also, get men to acknowledge that women have also had a difficult day. And the reason we do this is a woman who doesn't feel like her partner is engaging with her emotionally or mentally in a relationship cannot be receptive and respond sexually later on in the evening or at night. So for her to have that kind of connection, she also needs that mental emotional that mental emotional connection. So these are the reasons why it's really important to be present in a marriage. And it's important for both partners to be present, not just, I think we put a lot of emphasis on women because we assume that women are nurturers and carers and the natural caregivers and emotionally more connected. So we just expect that from them. Yeah. It helps build
I mean,
trust.
there is so much. There is
Yeah.
so much expected of women, such that we tend to see that men who are the ones who find themselves being less present in the marriage. I mean, especially when it comes to communicating. I mean, you always have to mark the register and like, hello, I'm talking to you. But why do we become complacent to give our partner our complete attention?
I don't know if we become complacent or we get too busy and caught up and overwhelmed by what's happening outside and around us, the expectations that society has of us, and the expectations that we have of ourselves in comparison to society. So to your
Mhm.
cousin, your friend, your colleague, your neighbor, the in-law, someone or the other. So I think it's getting caught up, and for that reason, we sometimes, we get into this habit of multitasking. We seem to be in some kind of rat race. We have to accomplish so much in a short space of time. It's a competition almost. So, I'm 30 and I've done this, this, and this. I've done A, B, C, D. And that's how we start conversations, or that's how we value ourselves. It makes it difficult for other people because they feel challenged, they feel pressured, they feel that they need to also meet you there. And I think if we take that away, and if we slow down a little bit and not feel pressured to multitask, not feel pressured to have accomplished so much, and in terms of tangible accomplishments, and that brings us to spirituality, that brings us to religion. So much of us are doing religious rituals. So in terms of religiosity, we're fine. We've ticked all the boxes. But spirituality is a different question, or it's a different issue. So we haven't reached that spiritual level. So if you've reached, or if you're on the path of spirituality, it allows you to slow down. It allows you to, just take a deep breath, smell the roses, appreciate yourself, appreciate your partner. So I do think these are, the reasons or the foundations of why we're not present. It's keeping ourselves too busy. And it's also in marriages, we tend to take advantage of the people that we love and who we know love us. And we feel like, no, they do love us and they're committed to this relationship, so they're not going to go anywhere. Or they don't believe in
Mhm.
divorce, so they're not going anywhere. But unfortunately, what it does, it causes an emotional disconnect. You eventually drift apart and you're like strangers in a home. So you're two people just, coming home, doing the same things, may have some overall goal that's, in similarity or similar goals, and raising kids, but individually, not together.
Mhm. Well, then how can we practice being more present in our marriage relationships?
I think what we need to do is just to go back there and start off with being present with yourself. So acknowledge your own emotions, your own feelings, your needs, your desires, your wants, your likes, your dislikes, your expectations, and without being overly, without having too high expectations of the other person. Because I think a lot of the time we enter relationships, we we have an idea of what we want, but we don't marry that. We marry someone who we think has potential. And we shouldn't be
Mhm.
doing that, because that means that you found some kind of problem that you want to fix, or something that you want to
Mhm.
change or correct. And it makes it difficult because not all of us are raised in homes where we learn to be emotionally available. Some of us are raised in homes where we don't, parents don't really talk about things or discuss things, and you learn to navigate your emotions as you grow older. If you're someone who is, who's chatty and who freely shares their feelings and their emotions, and you're in a relationship with someone who doesn't, it's difficult. It's also difficult to expect them to meet you there if they've never ever been there, not even with themselves. If there's someone who pushes their own feelings and emotions away, especially if it's feelings that give rise to conflict, people don't really want to want to go there because people don't know how to address conflict or conflicting situations or thoughts or understandings of things. So I think learning about yourself first and then getting there with your partner. So what is important is being able to assess the situation and know when it can blow out of proportion and know when you can raise a topic. So, just scheduling time together is very, very important. I think, and we've spoken about this over, previous shows where we've spoken about, making time for the two of you, that's just the two of you. Setting
Mhm.
boundaries, maybe putting the phone away, or having two different phones. Like I have my dinosaur and I have my smartphone. So, one where you keep for emergencies or for calls or whatever, and one where you have for social media that you know that you can switch off or switch off your Wi-Fi or your data and create some kind of time alone with your partner. Another thing that we're guilty of doing is when we fix time alone with our partner, we also want to make up too much or in excess for lost time. So we want to do too much in a small space of time. So set time apart for the two of you, but also just do one thing. Connect, hug, hold hands, cuddle, take a walk, do some kind of activity that's out of the home. Cook, start from scratch, bake bread from scratch, make pancakes, do something where you can both be there without getting on each other's nerves, where you can not talk about anything because it's so easy to push the wrong buttons. And I think that we all know each other's buttons, and it's so easy to push the wrong buttons, especially when you're coming from a place of anger, frustration, irritation, resentment. So you have to come back to yourself. You have to acknowledge your own feeling. Um, and I think when you stop feeling the need to multitask, it feels so simple to me, and it's easier said than done for most people. And I think again it comes back to the fact that we get very overwhelmed with the amount of work that we feel we need to accomplish, and work has no boundaries anymore. So we end up taking work home. Boundaries are very important.
Well, you've said quite a lot there, and
Yeah.
in fact, I wanted to comment with a few points that you've mentioned there, but with this whole delay, kind of makes it a bit challenging. But there is a huge challenge when it comes to social media and us always making our lives a part of social media, wanting to show everybody everything that we do, even if it's just coming together as a couple and cooking a meal from scratch, like you've mentioned, but then there must be the phone is always there to capture all of these moments, and we lose focus of what we're supposed to be doing together because we're now trying to put on a happy face for the fans and the people who are watching us.
And I think what happens there is it becomes very fake. So you can't be present if you're trying to impress someone. So if the photos or if the live feed is for people, then you really can't be present. So what you're doing is maybe engaging with the crowd or the audience, not engaging with your partner. So then it's still, it's so a lot of the emphasis on yourself and how you connect with the audience, and not really how you're connecting with your partner. And I just have this policy. I think I've mentioned it before. It's so important to be able to filter, your personal life in terms of how much do you share online and
Mm,
even with people on a face-to-face basis, on a one-on-one basis. How much do you share? I think it's very important to keep private things private. And sometimes you think something is not private, but it is. You're inviting other people into your marriage or into your relationship by showing them how good your husband is to you, the kind of
mm,
little things he does for you, or how good your wife is. So these are things that we keep for ourselves, and we don't need to prove our relationships. I found often when people feel the need to prove their relationships online or in the public space is usually those are usually the relationships that are lacking something. So they need to prove it to
mm,
themselves, and so they also have to prove it online. You'll find in the personal spaces, those relationships usually are relationships that are in trouble. So yeah,
mm,
I think try to keep more of your personal stuff to yourself. Draw boundaries.
mm.
We are living in an age of social media, and it's fine to be able to share certain things, but certain moments should be for yourself and your partner or your family. Yeah,
Mhm. So
I
when
have this
should
policy. I have this policy to keep your love life, your married life, or your sex life off social media. It should just not be there.
Yeah, no, definitely. And a lot of people do not understand this, but we should actually be doing this and keep away from social media when it comes to your personal life. And
Okay.
if people are not sharing it with you, then there's no need for you to share it with them. It's yours and you keep it to yourself. Now, when should professional help be called in? When should there should be an intervention if um, this presence is not working?
I think that we are a society that feels that we have to wait for something to be broken to fix it.
Hmm.
That if it's working, it doesn't need fixing. And I think
Yes.
that if we move away from that kind of mentality and that mindset, we'll not reach those moments, or we'll avoid, or we'll take longer to reach those moments where they actually are broken. Because usually when there's
Hmm.
time, when we say we need intervention or we need therapy, um, it's often it's so broken that it cannot be fixed. By the time you get to therapy, one partner just doesn't want to do any fixing. One partner has had enough. And when they get to therapy, they actually want to be able to resolve the inner conflict to walk away. They want to walk away. They don't really want to fix anything. So I think every now and then you can do a check-in with a professional, whether it's a certified life coach or a health and wellness coach or a psychologist. Or so I think it's important before marriage, so the premarital classes, early days of marriage, and every now and then to just check in with someone, and just see that you're meeting each other's needs, especially if you are not equipped and don't have the tools to do that yourself. There's no harm in speaking to a professional, finding other ways to improve the marriage or the quality of the marriage. So it's not the physical presence or the presence itself, it's the quality of the presence. It's the way the other person experiences you in that relationship. So the experience that they
Mhm.
have, do they feel acknowledged? Do they feel, wanted, needed, acknowledged, appreciated in that relationship? So it's the quality of your presence. And I think that if every now and then we see a professional who helps us iron out any minor creases, they don't become rigid and they don't become major cracks that we have to then mend or fix. Yeah.
Hmm. And I always get told that, hey, if it's not broken, why fix it? I'm like, well, because there's cracks, so let's fix the cracks before it breaks. Okay,
Absolutely.
now, what should we avoid doing? I know there's a lot of things that we don't really tend to focus on so much, but we're doing it, and we should really be avoid doing it.
In order to be present in the marriage,
Yes.
right? So we have spoken about a few. We've spoken about the need to slow down, not take up too much, not take on too much. So don't bite more than you can chew. And that comes,
Mhm.
that really extends to all aspects of our lives, because most of us, when we have some kind of thing going on that's negative in our lives or in our marriages, we try to avoid it by doing something else. So we divert our
Mhm.
attention to something else. We take on some kind of community project, or we want to help, our friends fix their lives or their personal lives, or we want it. So basically, we're directing our attention away from where it should be, right? So bringing the attention back home. So if the problem is at home, realizing that this is where we need to bring our attention, this is where we need to pay attention and address the problem. I think a lot of the time it's time management, and time management is related to taking on too much and not drawing boundaries. So if we can slow down, not take on too much, and I know I'm saying this repetitively, and this is because this is what it comes down to. It seems so simple.
Mm.
I'll say, slow down, plan, have like a shell in terms of a schedule of what you want to do for the day, and try to do that. Try not to take on too much. I think that if we have, say, for example, a boundary, something that I do for myself is not check emails after a certain time in the evening, or not check
Mm.
emails before a certain time in the morning. um, or select which emails I can look at because I know which ones are going to make me emotionally drained. And I'm not ready for that yet. So I haven't reached that time of the day when I'm ready to handle that kind of email. So I avoid that for at this moment. I'll come back to it when I'm ready, emotionally ready. Some emails or some calls or some messages, they need to be filtered. So you need to put them in little boxes and say, okay, if it's not an emergency, I'll handle this then. I'll handle this now. And make time for each other. It's really important. I think that when it comes to the intimacy, we forget the basic things, like looking into your partner's eyes, holding their gaze, appreciating them, telling them how good they look, paying attention in terms of what they're wearing, how they dressed, their body language. So I think what we do is we keep ourselves busy, we're having conversations. I'm busy cooking, for example. As a wife, you're busy cooking and you're also holding a conversation with your partner at the same time. And this is an important conversation. One person is not feeling that you're engaging with them. One person is feeling left out or left behind. So set aside time for those things. Don't feel the need to multitask. Don't feel the need to rush things. It's really simple advice that we overlook, and these are the things that make a huge difference at the end of the day.
Hmm. And quickly, before you leave, what about couples who don't live together or are in a long distance relationship? How can they make their presence felt?
Oh, you're after my own heart here when you ask these questions. I think they're, yeah, this is the story of my life, eh? Long
Mm.
distance relationships. Again, very important. When you do connect, time for each other only, you know. And when you're not connecting, when you're not physically connected, then keep in touch by a simple SMS, a good morning, assalamu alaikum. I thought about you last night. I had a dream about you last night. Hopefully, it wasn't a nightmare. But yeah, so these little ways to stay connected. A surprise gift, a surprise call, um, a surprise visit. These kind of things are important. And pay attention to the conversation. It's so important to pay attention to the conversation. If you're listening and if you're doing a video call, watch their facial expressions. Listen to the tone, the ups and the downs of the voice. Pick up, and you can pick up on a lot from tone. And if you're watching them and if you're having a video call conversation, then watch their facial expressions. See where their eyes light up and then explore that, whatever the conversation is. See what gives them, makes their face fall, or a sad look on their face, or a worried look, or a worried appearance, and work on that, or talk about that. But it's very important for the person to know that you are paying attention, especially when it's a long distance relationship, because it's very easy for those to drift apart if you don't put in that extra effort.
Mhm. All right, we're going to leave it there for today. Shukran so much for your time and advice once again.
You're most welcome. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dr. Mariam B. Khan giving us advice on how to fully be present in your marriage, in your relationship. As she said, slow down. Don't bite more than you can chew. Set aside some time, and you don't have to be multitasking all the time. Just take some time off and be with your partner. Do things that you used to do together before you took on all of these roles and things that you are now doing. Take a walk, put your phones away, set aside some times when you can use your phone and when you shouldn't be using your phone. And I know people only tend to not use their phone when it's on charge. And once their phone is off the charger, then it's back to the socializing, social media, watching games online, watching videos online, or doing whatever it is that they do online. And when their partner tries to speak to them or tries to do something, then it's just like, yeah, oh, they they don't even see it, they don't even pay attention. So don't be that person. Set aside some time for your partner, set aside some time for your family. And remember, when all the social media is no longer there, who's going to be there? It's either your partner will be there or they won't be there anymore. So get your priorities straight. You are listening to the Marimo Content Show on Tula Media, and we're also live on Facebook. Remember to leave your comments in the comment section below. And if you have any questions for Dr. Mariam, we can get them to her, that you need to send them to us. Do stay with us. We will be right back. We still here?